Hello, my name is Jack, and I'm the co-founder of scrubbr.ai. Scrubbr is an AI native communication platform that will aggregate your Gmail, your Google Calendar, your Google Chat, and your Slack all into one unified dashboard so that you can communicate clearly. An AI agent will run all of the communications for you inside of this dashboard so that you do not need to click through all of your individual tabs to communicate all of the things that you need to communicate. There will be AI generated draft replies ready for the human to approve. And today we will be walking through all of the explicit Google OAuth scopes that we're requesting for the tool to perform what it needs to perform, in addition to why less capable scopes will not be sufficient for the tool to do so. Really quick, I'm going to run over a quick visual of all of the OAuth scopes that we're requesting and why we explicitly need them. So the first one is Gmail Modify. And we understand that this is the most broad scope that we're requesting from Google. And we want to be very explicit around why we need each individual action that's in here, why we can't use one that is less capable, and why we are not requesting the full Gmail scope. So the first thing that we need to be able to do is read messages, and we will see this in the dashboard as I pull it up later in this video. We need to be able to archive messages. That is not something that explicitly shows up inside of the dashboard, but we need our AI agent to be able to archive emails that show up as spam or show up as phishing, anything that the native Gmail filter is not able to catch. We also need to be able to mark emails as read and have that mirror back to your native Gmail dashboard. We need to be able to create draft replies inside of the Gmail dashboard, and we also need to be able to send. We do not need to be able to delete emails, which is why we're not requesting the full Gmail scope, and we also do not need to send autonomously without a human in the loop. As far as calendar goes, we are requesting the calendar.events OAuth scope. And the reason why is because we need to be able to read existing events that are in the Google Calendar. We need to be able to create new events in addition to being able to delete them as needed. We do not need to be able to delete anything beyond an individual event. If we have an identity bound calendar that is scoped to a certain individual, we do not want the tool to be able to delete that calendar. And that is why we do not need the full calendar scope to be able to do our job. Once again, we also will not be able to schedule events without the human in the loop to approve it. So that is why the calendar events OAuth scope is sufficient for this tool. For chat, we are requesting 3 scopes. One of them is going to be the chat.spaces.read-only scope. And the reason why we need this is because we need to list the chat spaces and the DMs that a user belongs to when you are telling the tool that you need to message a user inside of it. The Google Chat API also requests a space ID if we're ever going to be sending messages to a space, and we're not going to be able to perform those actions without this scope in place on the tool. The chat messages tool is also going to be requested, and that is because we need to be able to read chat messages from either DMs or those spaces. We need to be able to post replies to them if the user ever needs to reply to somebody inside of a chat. And that once again, there is going to be no autonomous posting to those chats without a human in the loop. The chat.spaces.create OAuth scope is the last one that we're going to be requesting, and that is so that we can create new DMs with new users. We explicitly tried to create a new DM with a user that didn't already have an existing one, and without this scope, we were not able to perform that action inside of the tool. We do not need to modify or delete any chats or spaces, which is why the entire chat.spaces scope is not requested. So that is just a quick overview of all the OAuth scopes that we're requesting. I'm going to move back to the dashboard so we can run through the onboarding, showcase how the permissions show up to the user for approval, and then we can get into some of the capabilities and how the OAuth scopes are used. So this is my dashboard right here. This is the first page of the onboarding screen. I'm going to go ahead and connect my Google account. It's going to show the Google accounts that I'm logged into, connecting the one that I want. And this is going to take me through into the dashboard. So if I were to click Gmail or Google Calendar, it is going to choose both of them. And the reason why is because we want a really easy user experience. And if you're connecting Google on one front, you should be able to connect it on all fronts. So Gmail and Google Calendar are connected in this sense. When I click the connect button, it is going to give the user a quick disclaimer of all the different permissions that we are allowing Scrubbr to take on the user's account. And then once again, if I click continue to Google, it's going to ask me to confirm my Google account one more time, and it is going to show all of the explicit actions that we are allowing the tool to take as the user. If you would like to view the privacy policy or the terms of service, they are hyperlinked on this page. So this takes you to our privacy notice. If you want to go to the terms of service, it takes you to right here. And that allows us to make sure that our users have maximum clarity around what they're giving the tool access to. So I'm going to go ahead and allow this, and then it's going to move us back forward through the onboarding. I'm not going to connect Slack right now since that does not matter for the purpose of this video. And the user is going to get another exclaimer around everything that they are going to be allowing the tool to do on their behalf. So I'm going to say looks good, and I'm going to continue. It's going to take some time to aggregate my data so that I can get it into our database and make sure that our tool can take the actions that it needs to take. And then I'm going to click on this button to see the dashboard itself. So here's my dashboard right here. I'm just going to refresh it really quick to make sure we get the data in there. It is going to take a few moments as there is a lot of data that is being quickly scrubbed by the dashboard so we can do what we need to do. And the first one that I'm going to go through is Gmail Modify specifically. So this is my parent dashboard. I'm actually going to run over to the stream view as this is our version of a Gmail inbox. And the first thing that we need to be able to do with the Gmail Modify scope is to read the specific emails in here. This is a mirror of a similar style dashboard to what you would see in your Gmail interface. We have our AI drafting replies for certain people, depending on, how we determine that certain messages are priority versus not priority. And that is the purpose of read. We're also going to need to be able to archive. That is not something that's going to show up explicitly in the tool, as the AI itself is going to be archiving those without user intervention. So this is just going to make sure that our tool has the necessary capabilities to do so. You can see that these numbers are showing up here as this is the first time I've authenticated into the dashboard. So it's still going to be quickly gathering all of the emails that I needed as quickly as we can. And you can see that this updates in real time. The other thing that I need to be able to do is mark emails as read. So I'm actually going to run back over to my native email dashboard here. And you can see that I have this email from Sebastian that is not read. It'll also show up as bolded on the Gmail screen. If I filter it as Gmail, you can see that the Sebastian is bolded, whereas all of the other ones are grayed out. And the reason for that is because the email itself has not been read yet. If I were to click on the email and actually view it in here, it's going to show something different inside of my email dashboard. Now that I have read it, if I go back into here and refresh the screen, it is going to show that the email is actually read. So just proving that the tool is actually doing what it's supposed to do, given that it has the scope that it needs to have. The last thing that we're going to be able to need to do inside of this scope is to be able to draft and send. Through this email dashboard right here, we can see that we need to be able to draft replies. We have our 3 draft replies that the user can choose from down here. I'm just going to choose this one because it's the easiest one. I'm going to go ahead and send it. And then as we can see, the tool is going to take a few moments for it to do what it needs to do. And then when I run back to my Gmail, if I go to my sent box, you are going to see my response to Sebastian through this tool. So you could say, hey, attaches the proposal. Here is me, and I am responding to Sebastian inside of the tool. So that is everything about Gmail Modify. And now I'm going to move over to the calendar view. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh this one more time just so that we get the data that we need here. The first thing that we need our calendar scope to be able to do is read your existing calendar events, right? So I only have 2 different calendar events scheduled right now. These are the 2 calendar events that actually show up on my Google Calendar. And if I go into my Google Calendar right here, you will see that these are the 2 meetings that I have for today. If I were to click on this message and I needed to edit a specific event, for example, I wanted to remove Sebastian from this message, I could remove him from this event. I could save the changes. And then we are going to go back into this message right here. This was from today at 4 p.m. I have removed Sebastian from the calendar event. And then now if I move back to that same calendar event, you can see that Sebastian is no longer on this meeting when he was added before. If I add him back to the calendar event, as we can see, I'll go ahead and put Sebastian at scrubbr.ai. I will save the changes here after I have put his name in and saved it. And then we're just going to give it a few moments and I'm going to go back to my Google Calendar so we can see that Sebastian has been added to this explicit calendar event. The other thing that we need to be able to do inside of this tool is create calendar events themselves. So I'm going to click on this create button here. I'm going to once again say meet with Sebastian, just because this is my co-founder. So he's one of the only people that I can meet with at this time. So I'm going to put his name into here. And then I'm actually going to schedule this meeting for tomorrow at 9 a.m. just because we're going to be meeting at 9 a.m. anyway. So I'm going to move this to a.m. I'm going to do 9 or, let's say 9:30. Why not? I'm going to go ahead and create this event. And then once again, I'm going to give it a few seconds. May need to refresh here since our tool is taking a little bit of time to do what it needs to do. However, if we do go back to Gmail, you're going to see that I have the meeting here that I had scheduled with Sebastian. It also creates a Google Meet that I can join through my account, and it shows up for me as I need to within the Gmail tool. The last thing I need to be able to do inside of this tool is to delete it. I also, just for your all clarity, the reason why this is not showing up on this stream is because there is a filter for the week. So this will go to show the meeting that I just created inside of here. And if I wanted to delete this event, there should be a trash can for me to delete this on the calendar view. So I'm going to go back to this event specifically, and you see the trash can right up here in the top right. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. It removed it from my Google Calendar specifically. That one was named Sevo. And then now we can see that that calendar event is no longer here on Gmail. Just to show you once more, since that part we didn't go through the Google Calendar side specifically, I have Meet with Sebastian on Sunday, the 17th of May from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30. I'm going to delete this inside of the Scrubber dashboard. And then, hold on, give me one moment. But as we can see, the tool is doing what it needs to do. The next three permissions that we're going to need are for Google Chat specifically. So I'm going to go over back to my stream view, and you can see we do have different filters for different information inside of the chat view. This is a team space that we have. And if I run into my Google Chat on Gmail, we can see that I have the team space right here with all of my members. If I want to be able to message to that space, I will just need to make sure that I can send a reply in here. So I'm just going to say, hello, gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and send it. And then we're just going to wait a few seconds for this to show up where it needs to show up. If I go back to the team space, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this just so we can see what we need to see. And then this message should show up in a few moments. So this was at 10:08 p.m. I'm going to go back to the team space really quick. Should be in here, not showing in here yet. However, you can see under the team space here, we have hello, gentlemen. I'm not sure why this was showing up that way, assuming it was cached somewhere, but we can see that it says now, hello, gentlemen is inside of the space. If I wanted to create a new DM inside of the chat, I'm going to click compose. We have a filter over here where I can choose between Gmail, Slack, or email, and I'm going to send a DM to Sebastian. I'm just going to go ahead and say hello. Before I do this, I just want you to understand that the last email that I had sent to Sebastian, or the last chat, was at 4:18 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and send this one right here. Right now it is 10:09 p.m. and we are going to see that it's sent. So we can see it show up on the actual Google Chat pane where you now have it in hello, and it's now. So relatively immediate, make sure we're able to do what we need to do. That is also what showcases the chat spaces.create. Another thing that I'm going to do just to show you guys how we can create a new DM or a new space is I do not have any messages with Jake Woodworth currently, right? There is no conversations. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this so that we don't have any existing direct messages with this user. And then I'm going to go back to my compose under chat, and I'm going to put in Jake at scrubbr.ai. I'm going to say, hello, sir, on here. I'm going to go ahead and send it. And because there was no direct message yet, it is going to create a direct message for me, and it is going to show up inside of our Google Chat here once again. So that has everything that we need to showcase the OAuth scopes that we need to show. This is scrubbr.ai. Once again, the things that we do not do are delete emails. We do not send emails, post chat messages, create calendar events, or DM spaces without explicit user approval from the AI tool. We do not request Drive, Docs, Google Sheets, or anything related to your file structure. All of these OAuth tokens are encrypted via AES 256. We are on track to completing our CASA assessment, and thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.